Okay, those are our recommendations. Those of you who choose to sign off now, we understand you want to get to read books that we've recommended. But for those of you who want to stay on, we've got a treat for you. Do you want to
Where to
describe this?
begin?
What is this list really?
Well, I will, but you might have to correct me because I didn't get into the weeds. But here is my understanding. The New York Times took on this big project of identifying the best books of the 21st century so far. And the way that they did that, it was not like a panel of judges. Well, it wasn't like they got a literary professor to like name it. They aggregated a ton of people's lists of their top 10 books of the 21st century. So this was everybody from literary critics to authors to readers. And through just aggregating those results, they came up with a list of 100. For me, it was just so fun. They released it in segments. So like you would kind of get caught up on what the 10, then there's like this kind of thrilling, like, what are the top 10? And it's just been really fun to read and look. And they did a great job online, at least of kind of like the visual presentation of it, which added to the fun of it. When it came down to it, I had only read 13 of the top 100 books.
Really?
Yeah. What about you?
So I don't know. I don't know if I should share my screen.
Go
So,
ahead.
but then I'm sort of controlling the conversation. So you just tell me, you just order me around,
I
Lizzie.
will.
Number 10 is Gilead by Marilyn Robinson. Both
Which
read
if I were making a list, I would probably put Gilead as number one.
it.
So
Really?
I was happy to see it in the top 10, but I think it is definitely one of the best books of the 21st century.
Well done. Okay. I read it. I really liked it. I don't think I put it at number one, but I don't know what my number one would be.
I don't either. I haven't really thought about that, but number 9 is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I've never read. I've also never read Remains of the Day.
Oh God. Okay, so I've read both of those, or I audiobooked Never Let Me Go just like in the last year, and it was good, but it was
Is it
not.
about vampires?
No, it's,
Oh,
you want me to give it away?
sure.
Well, it's about these beautiful young people on this campus and their friendships and their love triangles and stuff. And then you find out slowly, partway through, that they're actually like clones created and they're going to harvest their organs for rich people.
That
Sorry,
might be where that's fine. That
spoiler.
might be where I got the vampire thing from.
Well, it is sort of that.
They're not vampires, but yeah, I can see why I thought that. Interesting. Okay.
The young people don't know that.
Oh.
I think they're living their lives and then they figure it out or something. They discover it's the mystery. I think I just sort of spoiled it for people. Sorry, everybody.
Well,
But
it's an old book. It's okay.
so it was good, but it was, again, I think it was great. Remains of the Day, however, is probably in my top 10.
Absolutely. There are several people who have told me that it's their favorite book. I have it in this office, as a matter of fact. I've never read it.
It's hard to describe because it's a slow book, but it's just immersive. And again, this list is just from the 21st century, so that's from before.
Right.
Um, okay, God, yeah, Remains of the Day. Holy mackerel. Austerlitz by W.G. Sebald.
Never even heard of it.
I remember this book. It came out, what did it say? It came out in like 2001. I was in this phase of like, I want to read things. And it's like, I'm going to read that book. Everyone was raving about it. But I haven't gotten around to it. And he passed away. Sebald did. Highly regarded. It's a very literary choice, I think. There are like
Interesting.
photographs in the book. It's like one of the first times he used multimedia and in the fiction.
Interesting.
Interesting. Do this one.
Oh God, number 7, The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, on my shelf. Have not read it.
Same.
Yeah.
But
But
I hear
apparently
it's
it's
great.
great. Yeah, same.
And there's a mini series, but I don't want to watch the mini series until I've read the
No,
book.
I want to read the book.
Number 6 is 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. It's a thick book. Have you heard of it, Liz?
I had not heard of it until this list.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and it's supposed to be pretty trippy and amazing. It's a long book. It's translated. It sounds fascinating, but I have not read it. Feverish, vertiginous novel.
Number 5 is The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, which I don't know if we've talked on this pod about my feelings about Jonathan Franzen.
Tell us again.
Yes, I think he's a terrific writer and I hate his characters. I'm just too much of an optimist. So I distinctly remember reading this when I worked at a law firm one summer. I was the receptionist and you could read while you
Yeah.
waited for the phone to ring. It was insane. And I remember throwing this book like across my cubicle. I was like, I hate these people. I was so young though. I think when did it come out? Like 2001 or 2000 maybe?
In 2001. Yeah.
2001. Yeah. So I would have just graduated from high school. I was maybe too young for it, but I just remember being so furious. And I felt that way about every Jonathan Franzen book I've ever read.
Wow.
Good
Well,
though. It's a good book.
yeah, I've never read it. I have it on my shelf and I've read two of his other books. Like, is it Purity and Freedom?
I love Purity. Actually, I like Purity a lot. And I've also read Freedom.
Yeah. And I have the latest one, Crossroads, on my shelf.
Yes, I've heard that's great. It's very long.
Yeah. Wow. The corrections, Jonathan Franzen. The Known World by Edward P. Jones. Now, I have to say, I have read this book. It's fantastic.
That's what everyone says. I haven't read it, but I've just heard it's magnificent.
It's it's yeah. So and one of our PC things, it was my runner-up pick, and my pick then was The Orphan Master's Son by I think Adam Johnson. They were both great, and I read them around the same time. This is not even a good way to describe it, but it's about a black slave owner in the South. And really it's about one of his slaves. But it's gripping, it's tragic, it's sad. Like kind of the good guys don't always win. And
Yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah,
it was devastating. I like almost cried. It's like, why does this happen? And then I thought, that's kind of how the world is.
good book.
Um, it's a great book, and it's amazing that it's so high on the list because I didn't think I thought it's little known, but apparently the ones that know it absolutely love it. So, The Known World, Edward P. Jones.
Number three, another one I haven't read. Lots of Episcopalians have. Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel.
Yes, I haven't read it either. Well, it's on my shelf. Actually, that's not true. I started listening to the audiobook and I listened to almost half the book, but it was so dense, I had to stop. I just
It's
like,
part of a series, right?
yeah, it's the first of three. And the second one is also on the top 100 list.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Number two is The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. I have read it. Have you read it?
I've not read it, and I have another one of her books. Did she write Cast?
She did write Cask,
Yeah, that's
yes.
on my shelf right now. My TBR, as they call it, to be read.
Not to be read. The Warmth of Other Suns is one of the greatest books I have read,
Really?
period. It is magnificent. I've read it twice. I've had it in a book club in Long Beach. It was like the second book I chose, and people went crazy because we didn't know there's this mass migration from the south to the north of blacks. And it was over like 80, 70 years, like from 1910 to like 1970. It covers, and she talks about three specific people who went to Chicago, New York, and LA. And that's how she tells the story through their stories. And it's probably the best nonfiction book. Ooh, can I say that?
Oh,
I've ever read.
wow.
And so I was thrilled. This and The Known World at 2 and 4 were
Uh-huh.
like they just made me joyful to
Yeah.
see.
All right. And then number one, this was a controversial pick, is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This is the first book of the Neapolitan novels series that she wrote, which is about a friendship among girls into their adulthood in Italy. It's apparently amazing. Elena Ferrante herself, I think that's a pen name, isn't it? So she herself is like shrouded in mystery. Like, who is this woman? Um, which is a kind of an amazing thing to pull off in this day and age. But that the mystery around her identity has sort of accompanied the rise of these books. But everyone I know who's read this series really, really loves it and will say that it's that they're like the best books ever. I just haven't read them. I don't
I
know
thought you
why.
had. I thought you
I
had.
haven't read a single one. I'm just not that interested.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was controversial?
Well, well, yeah, I heard that it was controversial. Well, two books in that trilogy are on this list.
Yeah.
And I guess the number one pick would be controversial no matter what, right?
Right.
How do you decide?
You're off
What
the
would you put in your top five?
I can't even, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't know. For the 21st century, well, first of all, there were some like The Warmth of Other Suns, um,
Mm-hmm.
that I totally agreed with and absolutely loved. And Say Nothing was on there too. But I really have a soft spot for a book that I can't remember the title of, but it's the one about the Marquis de Lafayette. It came
Oh
out,
God, yes.
yeah,
Everybody loved that book. My friend Lauren recommended that.
it was
Oh,
wonderful.
you recommended it on the pod once.
It was one of my choices. Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
can't remember the title of it, but A Hero of Two Worlds or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
By Mike Johnson, something. Anyway, I just found that a sheer delight. And it was historical and it was fast paced and it was fast. I learned so much that I've forgotten since. But
Yeah. People
um
loved that book.
I love that book. And I did really like The Orphan Master's Son. Oh, I loved Homegoing by Ya Agayasi,
Oh, yes.
which made the readers list. And Greg said to us, because he was going through our list of books that we've
Mm-hmm.
completed and reading them, he at one point he said that was his favorite so far. So I
Oh, that's good.
that as a good thing. And I loved this book called As Meat Loves Salt, which no one's heard of. I can't remember the author. It's a woman, British, and it's kind of an intense. The plot is historical and
Mm-hmm.
gay and very, to me, very sexy. But like in like the Civil War, like in the 1600s in England, a soldier falls in love with another one, and just all the stuff that happens with that, the tragedies. And I love The Gentleman in Moscow as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll stop there. Oh, I love The Beautiful Ruins by Jess Walter.
Oh, yeah.
I recommended his latest short story collection recently in my top thing of the year. I can't
Yeah.
think of it. So lots and lots to think about and read.
So fun.
Oh,
Everyone, go look up these lists. I'm gonna go look at the reader's pick because I didn't even know they did that.
yeah.
So I can't wait to look at that. And yeah, if you're worried about you just don't know what to read next, I mean, if you're not listening to us and our picks,
There's something
yeah, what's wrong with you? Let the New York Times tell you there's some great ideas in there.